theatrical, brilliant. I mean, it's just hard to imagine what was going on in his head. But you know, I love the fact that he's being celebrated and that kids know who he is. And I need to dig a bit deeper there because there's a lot of Bowie to discover. A lot of it is.
It means everything that I ever did in my life, came from David. I think my generation was just, given advice by him, and shown what books to read, what movies to watch, and then what clothes to wear, music to play.
Everything. In fact, when we've been on tour together, we go and do pilgrimages. We went to Bowie's flat in Berlin. We went to Sigma Sound in Philadelphia, or the car park. It was Sigma Sound, where we recorded Young Americans. And yeah, we're always trying to find places for Bowie pilgrimages.
So this is a pilgrimage in itself tonight, eh?
We'll see. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to him, being so tall on the screen, and just wrapped around.
And so did his fashion and look have a direct influence on Spandau when you guys started?
Well, that whole New Romantic scene, wasn't it? That's when we were all kids when we saw Starman on telly. So it gave us all the pointers we needed.
I think it just means so much to so many people. Any interview you watch, even outside of the incredible performances, it's like he said something really interesting about how artists tend to dwell on things more than other people, that we're not actually different, we're just probably more dramatic about it. And I think his expression and his support for queer community, everything he did was so free and forward thinking, and I want to be free in the same way. I hope so.
And do you have favourite David Bowie album, favourite David Bowie song?
I think the fact that Diamond Dogs he played all the instruments on it, and the whole Rebel you got your mother in a world, don't know if you're a boy or a girl. I feel like I really am trying to embody that, and it's a great comfort, listening to that.
And what do you think David Bowie will make of this sort of celebration of his legacy?
I mean, he denied the knighthood and all this stuff. I think he might kind of be whatever about it, but I think that's what makes him so cool. Is he just loved art and characters and playing and art, drawing and stuff like that. And I think that creativity just hasn't got too much of an ego around it.
I was a teenager in the 70s, so yeah, I'd be going to school in the morning. My mum would have the radio on. Gene Genie would be blasting out, or Suffragette City, and or Golden Years, And so he was, since I was like a conscious kid, teenager, like a pop music fan, he's always been there, or he was always there. And also the way that he changed as an artist from album to album, he did different styles, as did the Beatles. That's been a big influence on Primal Scream.
I mean, did your paths ever cross at all?
Yeah, we met him. We met him. I think it was 2002. We played a gig with David. David was headlining. There was a few other artists on. I think No Doubt, Jamiroquai, us. I can't remember who else. We met him backstage and we chatted about Vince Taylor, the 1960s British rock and roller who dressed in head to toe in black leather. Who actually Bowie said to us, "Did you know?" He said, "Vince." He goes, "I based Ziggy on Vince." So he says something like that. "Did you know I based Ziggy on Vince?" Because we'd watched a documentary about Vince Taylor and the way on the bus to Belgium, because the gig was in Belgium, and so we chatted about Vince Taylor, and he was nice. He was lovely. He looked amazing. He looked like a rock and roll aristocrat. Even though he's one of the very few admirable rock stars that never took an honour from the royal family, which I think is incredibly cool. Maybe the coolest thing he ever did. The rest of them grovel on their knees, Very was like that.
I like all the period when he went to Berlin, that whole thing, when he made 4 albums. Two with himself and two with Ziggy Pop.
What is it about that music you love?
I think it still sounds really modern now. There's an attitude to it. In fact, I think the best thing I ever saw Bowie do was when he played, not only played piano with Iggy Pop Man, but he had a pop rock and a side beer on the top. That was pretty fantastic.
But the funniest thing is Jim, Iggy Pop, says he was the most expensive sideman in the world, and David said he never got paid. So it depends whose story you believe on that one.
Yeah, he was really big on cheese and pickle sandwiches, Bowie, and he spent 40 minutes about the size.
Yeah.
I mean,
And do you remember the first time you heard Bowie's music?
Yeah, I saw him on Lift Off with Aisha. Well, first time I saw him, he'd had a hit with actually, it was two things. He'd had a hit with Space Oddity, which kind of came, and then it came out again about 6 or 9 months later. But I also do remember some bloke ripping off Agony Newley with the laughing note.
Well, somebody.
And Bowie told me, I met him at Radio City Musical watching the Talking Heads, and we were chatting, and he had his album Low out. He said, "Do you like that?" I said, "Yeah, but it's more about it." And he said, "All my mates bought it." He said, "It didn't sell very well." I said, "Didn't it?" I said, "All my mates bought it." He said, "No, the laughing note sold more than that."
I remember when we did the Sound and Vision tour at Milton Keynes, and you had to say in the NME which track you wanted him to play most, and they all put the laughing note. It came out number 1.
Did you do it?
No.
I was walking down the street.
So you know that. What about your lead guitarist nicking his microphone from Hammersmith? We'll gloss over that,
I
right?
did have words with him about
Yeah.
He tried to dismiss the Sex Pistols and Noble Soul when I was playing with Jim. So I said, "David, how's it go?" The picture came out better on the stolen guitar, and I walked out of the room and he couldn't really say anything. He was as nice as pile for it.